Good evening, everyone. Child Psychology Module number 16. My name is Nadeem Sikander. This module will be about language and communication in child development. So what we will be covering in this modules, we'll be looking at language milestones from birth through 12 months, from age 1 to 2, 3 to 4, 4 to 5, and we will be looking at some of the language disorders that child could develop. So the development of language and communication is done by children going through different stages of language development. What starts as few silly words, some babbles, can turn into speaking with complex sentences at a greater speed. However, even before child utters their first word, they can already understand language. This module, we will be looking at those stages of language development. So language milestone from birth through to 3 months. Many people are surprised that the process of language development begins soon after birth. So during the first year of baby's life, they can distinguish all of the sounds that occur in the language that their household speaks. And by the time the infant is 3 months old, they can listen to the sound of the speech, tell the difference between different voices, and can respond to the changes in tone. Now, babies at this age will also react differently to hearing someone speaking a foreign language, for example, and because they know their own language. Not necessarily they know it, but they can distinguish between the two languages, and they will begin to imitate sounds. At this point, babies communicate by laughing, crying, and babbling. So that we're looking at birth to 3 months old. So language milestone from 3 to 6 months, though babies cannot talk yet at this point, they're not really talking at this point in their lives, it doesn't mean that they cannot communicate. So in fact, babies communicate by relying on gestures, sounds, facial expressions, and eye gaze. So these things help to set the stage for language development over the next few years. At this point, a child can imitate simple sounds such as consonants and vowels, listen to others and conversations, and in exchange to some of the facial expressions with people such as smiles. Language from 6 to 9 months. So we just looked at the 3 to 6 months. We're looking at 6 to 9 months. So as child enters 6 to 9 months of age, parents and caregivers notice their child is becoming more vocal. Now, in addition to babbling, children will utter their first words, for example, such as mom, dad. These children will use also babble happily to themselves, such as both verbal and nonverbal signals to communicate with other people, and utilizing gestures with words such as saying, waving their hands and saying bye and things like that. Now, if we look at the language milestone from 9 to 12 months, as children approach their first birthday, most of them have dramatic increase in their language. Now, though children can only produce a few words, they can comprehend many words, even if they cannot say them. In fact, research shows that the babies can understand language approximately 2 times faster than they can actually speak it. So children can also understand the names of the people in their lives, and they know the objects, what they call, and they halt their actions if you were to tell them no, and they will stop from doing it. So they will also often use their facial expressions and body language to express their feelings. So that was more of a 9 to 12 months. So 1 to 2 years. During the first year, the child will begin using the language almost constantly. And at this point, most children can understand basic commands such as eat your soup, or eat your food, or pick this up. Use the words mind to indicate possession and can speak several words with clarity. So they know the word mine belongs to me. So the other words they use are often only understood by members of their household. For example, if they're talking within their family and someone from outside would hear it, mom may have to kind of translate what the child just have said, right? So, but they will begin to string together basically words and phrases into sentences by the time they're 2 years old. So now 2 to 3 years of age, from the child's second to third year, the way they use language becomes more and more complex. So at this point, right, approximately half of the things that a child says is at least 2 words in length. Children at this age will also, for example, use specific words to describe things, begin to use adjectives and adverbs, and they will extend their sentences to 2 to 3 words or 4 words, for example. Children can also describe events such as, what's happening during their day. Or what happened during the day. So sometimes family members will have to translate for people who do not know the child very well. So now we're moving from 3 to 4 years. So we were at 2 to 3, now we're moving to 3 to 4 years of age. By the time child turns 3, they will have developed advanced communication and language skills. So most of the people that live outside of the family can understand what a child says at this age, and the child can hold a conversation with others. Now, I personally have, I work with the very young population, so I can tell you that by the time of 3 and 4, they definitely are in communication with you. And believe me or not, but I can tell you that there's such intelligent conversations that I don't have the time to tell you the anecdotes that I collect. However, children at this age can also use and understand full sentences. And they know, by the way, that when you say something that is inaccurate, they will actually correct you to like, if you tell them, oh, your name is not this, but your name is this, and they will say, no, my name is this. They know what their name is. So they can follow the series of directions and begin to communicate with plurals and tenses. Children at this age can sing and learn songs, and they can understand the concept of time in language. For example, we will see, for example, we will see dad tomorrow or grandpa tomorrow or something like that. Now, quickly going over to the milestones from 4 to 5 years of age. From this age, for 4 to 5, children become true master of the language and communication. Not only can they now speak clearly, but they can also understand advanced language concepts such as comparative language. This means that they can tell the difference between terms such as fast, faster, and fastest. Children at this age can also follow strings of direction, can listen to and remember long stories. And oftentimes, I'll give you an example. Often they'll tell you, no, you told me this yesterday. Like, oh, no, you didn't say that. So they will correct you. And they can use sentences that are around 5 words in length. Now, these children can also combine more than one thought in a sentence, and can talk about future or imaginary things, and also ask questions about why, how, when things happen. Now, just keeping in mind that all these milestones can be used as a basic outline for the development of language. all children will learn and develop at different paces. So not everybody develops at the same time, but there are different stages and different paces. So, however, children who do not achieve these milestones, or those who do not meet these, meet them at a quick rate, should be evaluated by their primary care physician. One of the factors in studying language development, it is important to acknowledge that there are several communication disorders that can occur in childhood. One such language disorder is when a child has a hard time understanding what is being said to them, and a difficult time responding to expressing themselves. So oftentimes I can tell you that if a child is having a hard time expressing oneself because he's having a hard time understanding what's going on. So that's one of the signs that you can think of. There's a language development disorder at obviously a different spectrum, but you can consider that to be the case. Language and communication disorders. Now let's jump into the disorder parts. So the disorders that we're going to discuss is, please keep in mind, these are just generally somewhat of the information, because of course you can dive deep into these disorders and find more information. So there are several language and communication disorders that might appear in children. Now I'm going to talk some of them, including some of the following ones. One of them is speech sound disorders. So speech sound disorders is a condition where difficulty with pronouncing certain words continues past the age they should. Every sound that we use to speak has a different age range when a child should pronounce the sound correctly. So those who do not do this are said to have a speech sound disorder. There might be an issue for them to articulate sounds or phonological processes of the sound patterns. So issues, for example, with articulation include making the sound of W, for example, instead of R, such as saying, the child may say wabbit instead of saying rabbit. So instead of saying rabbit, he would say wabbit. So these children might have also leave out the parts of the words, such as saying nana instead of banana. Though many children would have things after a certain age, and sometimes things do, or the children do overcome that, but depending upon the condition, and they continue to they could continue to indicate a problem in the language acquisition. Language disorders, a child may also have a language disorder that might involve difficulty with understanding what they are hearing, and that might have a problem expressing themselves. A language disorder can affect both verbal and written language, and even sign language. Some language disorders are relatively minor, but some could be devastating to the child and the family. So we're going to talk about the cognitive communication disorder, which is CCD. The term cognitive communication disorder is a very broad one, which is used to describe a number of specific issues with communication. Now, these issues are often caused by some type of brain damage, which can impair the person's ability to transform their thoughts into writing, speaking, or even gestures, right? So symptoms of these disorders vary depending on the causes of the type of the disorder. They might be simple, such as stuttering due to the processing of the sound, or they could be occasional misspeak to complete the inability of a person to use a verbal or written language for communication. So fluency disorder. A fluency disorder is a fancy name for stuttering, is often characterized by primary or secondary behaviors. So the primary behaviors include repeating syllables, sounds, words, blocking airflow during speech, or prolonging single sounds. So the secondary behaviors often develop over time, and they have a usually learned behaviors such as hesitating or interjecting syllables, words, or sound. Now, these people might also show physical actions that are stuttering, including loss of eye contact and eye blinking. Stuttering might be confused with the normal disfluency, which is when a child is learning how to combine words and often speak in short sentences. So this usually starts at around the age of about 18 months old and continues until the age of 7. At this point, if stuttering does not slow or stop, the child will begin undergoing a treatment for a fluency disorder. You might have to seek help from a speech pathologist and talking to, of course, your primary care physician. Voice disorder, it would be the last one. Voice disorders are conditions where a person speaks with an abnormal pitch, quality, or volume. One example that we are all familiar with is laryngitis. So this is the type of voice disorder that is temporary, but there are other speech disorders that are chronic and serious. Voice disorders generally fall into one of the three categories, which are functional, organic, or a combination. So functional voice disorder are those that are developed due to the vocal mechanism of the body being used in a way that is inefficient or improper. So that could be something physical. People with these disorders have physically normal voice organs, but organic voice disorders are further divided into two groups, such as structural disorders and neurogenic disorders. Structural disorders are those where there is something physical is wrong with the voice mechanism, such as the fluid of the tissue of the vocal folds. The neurogenic disorders are like voice disorders that are caused due to the issues in the nervous system. So there is a nervous system that could cause that, and there could be an actual fluid or tissue or a vocal fold issue that could cause that. Finally, folks, there are psychogenic voice disorder, which is when a person changes their voice. This is called psychogenics, quality to become symbolic for some reason or another. So there's a reason or another reason, or whatever the case may be, there could be conditions called psychogenic to change the voice and the pitch. These disorders are often attributed to somewhat of an unresolved psychological conflicts. So that's what we have today. In conclusion, language and communication development begins early in the lives of the children. We know that now today. And the babies communicate from the first month of their life. Though most children go through the development of language naturally, there are instances where they will not develop their language as they should. In these cases, they seek help from professionals such as speech pathologists, teachers, counselors, and those who can help them get better and get back on the track with other peers. Only a small number of people develop serious language and communication disorders. Folks, thank you all very much for watching this course module number 16, language and communication. We will see you at the next module. Have a wonderful rest of the night. God bless you all. Take good care of yourself.